Hello, my name is Henry Mascot. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Curacao. At Curacao, our vision is to help drive insurance penetration across emerging markets using technology. We're super excited to bring to you Insuring the Future, which is our podcast series where we sit down with insurance executives across the different markets, from Africa to MENA to Latin America, bringing you insights, bringing you what's going on, the trends, the opportunities, the challenges on the path of fulfilling the promise of insurance being a massive social catalyst. I assure you it's going to be very exciting. So like inspiration for this podcast was that we sit down with these executives and we learn so much from them. There's so much going on, from a regulatory standpoint, operational, technology, and so on and so forth. There's so much happening about the space. We're so excited. And we just wanted to bring that to you and share what's going on. So stay tuned. Feel free to put down comments, responses, questions you would have. And we can, if you want to ask them directly to our team or even to some of these executives, happy to bring you some of those answers. Today I'll be talking with a very good friend and mentor, Tope Adeniyi, who is the CEO and Managing Director of Axa Mansard Health. To the best of my knowledge, the biggest health insurance company in Nigeria and probably in West Africa. Tope, thank you so much for finding time.
Thank you.
So we just, it's very casual. We just want to learn a little bit more about yourself, how you ended up in this our insurance industry. And, maybe you also just talk about a little bit of like what you're actually passionate about in the space.
Right. Thank you very much, Henry. My name is Tope Adeniyi, Managing Director and CEO of Axa Mansard Health. Like Henry said, a leading health insurance company in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a journey of very much exciting period of touching lives, making impact on people, and increasing productivity through healthy life by covering what is most important for the people. As a person, I have a background in information technology. They call me tech guy. So my first degree is in IT, second degree in IT.
Oh, wow.
Before I did MBA. A lot of my old certifications were in IT, database,
Wow.
Oracle. I'm certified CISSP, information security. I am and I was a programmer. Diverse interest in IT, both in governance as well as infrastructure, database, software development, holistic.
Okay.
I ran as a CIO for a conglomerate company, as well as financial service.
Okay.
I first joined AXA, then it was Mansard then, as the CIO, and I ran as a CIO for the subsidiary of Axa Mansard then. It was called Guaranteed Trust Insurance and all of that.
It was a GT. The GT.
GT. And then after sometimes we integrated operations with technology, and I became divisional director of operations and technology.
Okay.
Where you have single point of failure to be able to solve problems, and you are able to integrate all operating processes, customer services into technology so that you can deliver better service to the customer.
Yeah.
Along the line, I was always hungry for more. I was always excited at solving problems. I was always looking for opportunity to make an impact. And then it was time for AXA to look beyond the P&C and life business.
Okay.
And we thought of what next can we do to be able to make impact. And we began to look at the opportunity to do protection that can give people immediate benefits. Insurance traditionally is future, maybe it will happen, it may not happen. But then there's an aspect of insurance that can actually translate to instant gratification, and that was health. So we launched out in healthcare insurance 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I remember then it was time, because as management, our practice is to be able to identify opportunity that can make an impact among the populace, And then our trained managers, send one of our team members to be able to take that opportunity within the group. And I was privileged to be.
You are the messenger.
To be sent.
You are the messenger for.
I was sent to go and even though with tech background, operations background, I did not know how to diagnose or healthcare, but then there was passion to serve.
Yes, sir.
There was passion to solve problems. There was connection to the customer, and so with that, we were able to dimension the problems the industry was facing, and that came very clear. That formed the basis on which we built a strategy of addressing the most important part of what people require. And the problems were very evident from customer side, providers of service themselves, the industry players themselves, the macroeconomics, and the nature of healthcare in practice. So it became a very glaring need for us to be able to provide solution. And so that's what led us into the healthcare.
That's how we got here. That's a very.
That's how we got here.
You should be on our side of the table, like, because you're tech. You even have way more degrees than I do in tech.
I'm on both sides.
You are. So no, we're going to go back and dig into a little bit of that. But let me go a step back because you guys started 10 years ago. You started. And you've built the biggest, like you said, health insurance company in sub-Saharan Africa. It's a massive feat.
Excluding South Africa.
Okay, so excluding South Africa. It's South Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. It's Southern Africa. I don't know if it's so
whichever way you see it. Yes.
So, but let's take a step back. So, 10 years ago, what's the history of health insurance, or even insurance generally in to whatever sense you can share, right? In like Nigeria, maybe health insurance, maybe insurance general. What's the history of that? When did you all start? To date?
So health insurance, pre the time we started, the players were quite a number of them, but largely fragmented. The challenge were also a lot. The insurance was in practice in Nigeria. Health insurance was in practice in Nigeria for about 10 years before we started.
Okay.
And largely driven by public sector. Then the private sectors were also there, but the maturity was quite low.
Okay.
Maturity was low, so you had very poor technology. Transparency was not quite there. Customer service was not at its best. People complained a lot. Providers were very sick of non-payment, delayed payments. A lot were too manual, a lot were too delayed. So that sense of customer satisfaction was not fully there. And so people were losing trust in the health insurance space. But most importantly is the fact that customers who always suffer whenever processes fail, whenever things don't work out well, they lost trust in health insurance space. People would just prefer to pay out of pocket whenever they are sick than for them to seek.
Because even if you have insurance, it doesn't work, right?
Sometimes you struggle to have it work. And so that provided us an opportunity to see, okay, there's a huge problem here for us to solve.
10 years ago when you started, there were a few insurance companies, but nobody was that big. Was there enough education for people to know there was insurance?
Or? There were big players. There were big players who are still fairly big today. So it was fragmented. We have big players in the private, we have big players in the public sector as well. The only problem is that it wasn't growing fast.
Yes.
It wasn't growing fast, and if you measure the customer satisfaction was very low. It was low.
Yeah.
And then so the growth rate will certainly be affected because the service is poor.
Yeah.
Even people who could have done insurance for themselves would prefer out of pocket.
To just pay out of pocket.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then so you have all sorts of problems, and people, anything you call insurance, people used to think that it's fine print, they may not even want to pay. Again, we inherited similar problem in our parent company when we were doing our, your regular P&C, general insurance, life insurance.
Yeah.
That's how actually we also disrupted the market. We entered into the insurance space at about 2004. We used to be a subsidiary of, Guaranty Trust Bank, and then we also needed to demystify this fine print. We needed to bring in this
Because it used to be when you get that policy,
Yes.
the document is a scary legal document.
We needed to bring in transparency. We needed to bring in customer service. We needed to bring in. So being the normal way of our parent company, our culture, our value, which we have maintained up until Axa. The culture only got better and better and better, and more better. Always focusing on the customers. Always looking for how everybody will get high value from it. So we transformed. We disrupted the insurance industry. I mean, and it's very clear in the market.
It's very clear.
So I would call that one disruption 1.0.
Okay.
And that was from 2004 when we entered into the P&C as well as life market.
Yeah.
Then in 2013, we needed to start disruption 2.0. And that's why Earth was born.
Health. It's literally 10 years this year.
10 years this year.
Wow.
So it's like saying the first 10 years was to disrupt the P&C and live markets, and we're still going on. And then the next 10 years is to say, okay, let's go to the healthcare.
And you disrupted.
And then to begin to see, let's raise the level.
Yeah.
And customers were very pleased because in 5 years of our operations, we became the leader in the market.
Just
and
5 years?
Yes, because customers were pleased with the service. Providers of service were very pleased with the service. Everybody began to say, okay, there's hope in health insurance. People's faith returned back. People believed again that, so it works. So it's not fine print. It's actually fine healthcare, fine care. Fine care, not fine print. So because of that, that also led to growth rates improving.
Yes.
So it's not just a benefit to AXA, it became a benefit to the
whole industry. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so we're happy that our growth did not only make an impact in the industry, it also benefits all the stakeholders, including other operators.
Yeah. Because it's not a zero-sum game, right? Because in a market where it's just 2%, 3% penetration, like there's still a lot of grounds to cover.
Yes, and that's very, very important because we're still far from
very far.
Because up until now, we still have less than 10 million people out of 220 thereabout. So we still have a long way to go, a huge opportunity. But then the journey has begun.
Yes.
Certain steps have been taken. You already are aware the mandatory health insurance bill has been passed. Health insurance is now mandatory. So those are baby steps, but very important step has been taken. So we now have operator like ourselves that has proven in the market that we
can make money from this profitable commercial
that we can execute properly. We can execute with discipline. We can help people to really have good care when they need it most. So we have proven the market that, this concept of health insurance, this concept of healthcare financing, it's not going anywhere. It's going to work. It can work in Nigeria. It's made in Nigeria for Nigeria and to succeed in Nigeria.
And work in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Maybe so there are a few points I'm going to dig in there from what the government has done with the new regulations. But maybe before that, let's look at a bit of so I know what the ideological problems for non-adoption is. You've mentioned a few of them that were in Nigeria: lack of trust, poor customer service, and so on and so forth. So maybe from a thesis perspective, what are some of the, bottlenecks or challenges that keep people from adopting insurance? You've mentioned a few of them, but more specifically, just kind of like identify them.
So with a lot has to do with lack of awareness. Lack of education is very, very important. Factor that actually inhibited the growth of health insurance. In the market today, people traditionally do not even know that such many times exist. So there's a lot to do around information, communication. Another thing that also makes it very challenging to have insurance penetration is because of distribution.
Okay.
Distribution is limited. You do not, you must be able to, healthcare is so much in need by everybody, whether you are an elite or you are a poor person, you are in city or town or village. So we must have a distribution mechanism that can reach everybody, both in terms of the financing, purchasing the healthcare itself, and in terms of also having the supply side where you have care, access to care. So you have issues with distribution, you have issues with, you have also issue with the capability of the people to be able to buy.
It's the ability to pay, ability to provide the right service, ability to finance the healthcare. Yeah.
And the ignorance part is actually the highest one.
Right.
Because sometimes you spend as much money on healthcare in traditional care methodology, in non, as much as you could have spent on insurance, and you would have gotten more excellent care. But because you don't know, because you're always waiting until something happens, nobody has educated you to say, look, with just 1,000 naira savings a month,
you can get
a
proper,
cover.
yeah.
And that will help you. Just with, 500 naira savings a week, 100 naira savings a day, half a day, 15 naira savings in the morning and 15 in the evening. You could have gotten a decent healthcare without having to go to quackery, without having to go and use self-medication and injure yourself.
Because the challenge is when something happens is even much worse. So but is it actually possible to pay in the morning and in the afternoon?
We must be innovative.
Technology can be possible, right? Yeah. It can be possible.
In the informal sector, we earn in the morning, we earn in the evening. Some people, they go to the markets in the morning, they make some early morning sales. You go to Oyinbo, early morning sale 5 to 7. And then in the evening, when the formal sector is coming back from work, they come to buy.
And then
you can earn money in the evening, So that way, you are creative. You are responding to the market dynamics.
How they behave, the culture.
You are thinking with the market. You are not just coming with product. You are coming with solution adaptable for the people.
Yeah.
So you go to a particular community, they only use Isusu method.
Yes.
You go to another community, they use, different methods. So you must adapt. You must apply yourself in order to be able to do things well. That way, you are now a lifestyle company. So it must not just be seen as, this is how we do it. It must be a lifestyle solution given to the people.
How does the customer behave? How do we adapt our business for the customer?
Exactly.
I think you've already started talking about some of the solutions, like you said, tailoring it, technology. But one thing before we dive into that, maybe let's talk about that, and then we can talk about why the industry is more B2B than retail, right? Because a lot of people will be like, why, I understand it, but from an executive who looks at a P&L every day, maybe good to explain to people why it's mostly. But let's look at the solutions, which you've already started at. So solution is you have to adapt for the market, right? So payment, I was also in the webinar last week and I was talking about with technology is the only way you can actually do this at scale. How do you collect money from people at scale at Axa without doing agents all over the place and so on and so forth? So let's talk about the solution and scale.
So maybe the solution, certainly the awareness must increase significantly.
What is that? What does that mean?
So it means that there must be a lot of education to the public, using all the channels of communication to be able to ensure our people know the benefits of health insurance, the benefits of prepayment. They must be able to know that this is available.
Okay.
They must be able to have easy access. They must know how to use it, where to use it in their languages, in their tongues, in their various locality. We must translate it in the way they can identify with it. We must take the campaign to ordinary person to see the benefits and how to enjoy healthcare insurance. That awareness must be sustained.
Okay.
That education must be continuous, using all the channels and all the mediums. Very important. I think the second thing that must be done, which we're doing, is the adoption of technology. It is inevitable. Technology, digitization, data is the bedrock to be able to drive healthcare inclusion, healthcare insurance, and both on the demand side as well as the supply side. Demand side meaning the healthcare finance, health insurance. The supply side meaning the provider. And so let's start from the health insurance side. You need technology to be able to make sure distribution is easy. When we started, we decided that we're going to deploy technology.
Okay.
So we rolled out technology, and we made sure that customers were able to see their policies digitally. Providers were able to post in their claims, and then we can review, make things fast. And we moved from 6-month payments of the industry to 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like
that would be massive.
It was a revolution. Everybody started loving it. Providers became our agents, our partners, referring people to us.
Yes.
A number of customers I did not go to make presentation. My team did not go to make presentation. Provider simply recommended and they joined us. So that was very good. Again, distribution. Again and again, you must continue. We must deploy technology to be able to make it easy for people to access healthcare insurance. Partnership with technology companies, both telcos, ICT, payment company, fintech, so that it is very easy for people to buy and it's very easy for people to pay.
Yes.
It is
This
very
is at they're like trivial, but they're very important.
These are the real issues.
They're very, very
These are the real issues. So when you talk about financial inclusion, you must talk about healthcare inclusion. Healthcare inclusion can only happen through technology. And the technology must be as simple that can work with the regular phone, USSD,
Yeah.
as ordinary phone, not even internet. Even without internet,
Yes.
you must be able to have access to USSD, and then with smartphones and sophisticated devices, everybody must be able to connect digitally to be able to access purchase as well as payments. And then when you have issues with customer service, you can also relate with somebody digitally.
Those so there are 3 customer touch points: being able to purchase, pay for it, and then get served.
Get served.
Yeah.
So that way your trust increases.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it is the person who experienced this good care and service that will tell the other people.
When the NPS is high, then that's why you keep getting referrals.
So after a particular period, your marketing is the people. They are the agents. They are the people that are going to talk about it to another person. And I know you mentioned, you raised at the point that why is the growth rate is much higher with
on
B2B
the business side of things,
than on the individual. So first and foremost, the concentration of the health insurance companies, we have has traditionally been on the formal sector, the businesses.
Yes, the formal sector.
The formal sector, the businesses. And because they are bulk buyers, so it's quick.
It's easier. The cost of customer acquisition cost is well.
Yes, they're more organized.
Yeah.
The cost of marketing is low.
Yes.
You can win an account. It has 4,000 people there.
Yeah.
So
we're going to talk to one person one by one. Yeah.
But then that's that's a stage in the evolution.
Okay.
Now we have almost that particular space is saturated, and now we now realize that SMEs and individual, they're actually the future of them. That's the place to really play big. And so the B2B party is coming to a new, a temporary pause.
Okay.
To retransform into a new way where it's going to be B2B2C.
Right.
So it cannot be just B2B closure. It has to be now B2B2C. In which case, even the existing corporate companies, you're not working together to be able to reach out to more people. Family and friends of the staff.
Interesting.
Relations of the staff.
Yeah.
Even the company workers can adopt community.
Yes.
Can do adoption of their communities, their villages, their townmates, and bring them into health insurance with a prepaid system that is reasonable. Even the diaspora can adopt their communities
and help
the
family. Yes.
So you could see the chain of where we're moving now from just mere B2B into now B2B2C and B2C directly. Again, some of the things that are made the B2C not to be so popular before, or not, the traction is low, is because, apart from technology, it's also because we do not have payment system that make it easy for them to pay.
Yeah.
Large corporate can give you a check of
boom, it will come in
20 million, 100 million, I love that.
How can you be collecting 100 naira or 10 naira every day like you talked about?
Exactly.
Or like 50 naira every week.
So without a very good fintech
back then,
technology, but now we have technology.
Yes.
We have payments, technology.
Yes.
We have, advanced. We are quite advanced in the country now.
There's still new ones. Obviously, there's direct debit that came out very recently. Technology and easy way. So it's still coming.
Which is
still
fantastic.
Coming. Yes.
So that we can easily collect money. So now the inclusion of individual should rise. Is a future. Is actually the place to go. Informal sector also is very important, which is the SME.
Okay.
SME business is both micro SME.
And there's still a chunk of, because I know in places like the US, like the bulk of the economy is like small and medium scale businesses. So I assume in Nigeria, a lot of there'll be a lot of, GDP that is driven by that segment.
Statistics shows there are more than 20 million SMEs, and the active one are actually more than 2 million. They're very much active.
Wow. And these people don't have cover, right? They're small businesses. They're like in some market somewhere, or
A lot of them still do out of pocket. A lot of them still do not have any cover. So opportunity is really massive that we must leverage on, distribution technology, payment technology, and a lot of things around good process, simplified process, and then of course the provider of service as well are your very important partner to make sure that you also structure the value around the provider side to meet up with your growth pattern and your promise on the demand side.
What are the challenges with that provider side? Because the circle, because you are your own is to finance the healthcare.
Yes, correct.
But the person who is actually delivering the value is the healthcare provider. So in essence, they are an extension of your promise.
Correct.
So how do you make sure how do you keep that standard? Because it's like, was there any challenges back then with AXA growing and delivering great customer service, and you have providers doing anyhow, and how was the journey like?
It was a very challenging moment because we're coming from value proposition of customer first.
Yes.
Customer service, customer service, customer service. Even when things are not covered, we want to provide alternatives. We're not just coming with a point to say, this is not covered.
Get out. It's not my business.
No. We want to solve problems. We want to have empathy to solve problems. And there are many ways to solve problems. Even if it is not in your cover, there must be an alternative to be able to help you. So we have to do a lot of providers education. So we are partners with providers for training, for discussions, for engagement.
Free trainings,
Engagement. We have providers forum. Providers share with us their thoughts. They are clinical experts. They're the ones that care for the patient. They are the last mile delivery team. And after customer, they're the most important next to them. We put ourselves at last. We are facilitators of care. We want to make things happen. So customer first, provider next, we're the last. So we continue to have this engagement with them up to now. And then we do training. We also try to make sure that they get EMR, electronic medical records. We can recommend people like you, please adopt Curacell, technology to make sure your...
We don't have EMR, it's always...
Oh, okay, yeah. So technology companies encourage them to be able to do that. And then, so that's helped to improve gradually. And it's not a one-day journey, but it's a continuous journey.
Because it's taking 10 years.
Sometimes we also try to help providers who want to have a sort of mergers. Maybe you have different specialties, and you just need to come together to form a team so that we can actually solve more healthcare problems, be more profitable, and deliver better clinical governance than when you are just
one by one.
So we
facilitated things like that.
We introduce, we facilitate that. We must continue to do things that we improve the value on both sides. Otherwise, our promise
will not be delivered.
Insurance will not be delivered. Yeah. And of course, recently, AXA also launched on the supply side. We launched an healthcare company.
Yeah.
So we have AXA One Health. That is
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
I know it's in Egypt as well. Is it anywhere else in the world?
It's in Egypt, it's in Nigeria. We also have other brand, which is the AXA Clinic. We have in Colombia.
Okay. Yeah. Mostly emerging markets, but not in...
Mostly emerging markets.
So not in France
and not in... I think one in Spain, but mostly emerging markets. And that will continue because we want to continue to protect what matters to people. Want to improve people's lives, want to make impacts. So both on the insurance side and on the delivery side. And healthcare has been identified by AXA as a very important area where we want to touch people's lives end to end. Yeah. So not only in the financing side, also in the care value delivery itself.
I wonder what your do they feel that your competition now that you have hospital? How do the providers feel? Or you give them business anyway, so they don't care?
So for us, we said to ourselves that even the AXA clinic, AXA hospital, it's not just a competition, it's a collaborator.
Okay.
So we have services that AXA One Health will not be able to do.
Right.
We'll be referred to other hospitals. The same way other hospitals will bring in referral. It's a collaboration. We want to make sure that healthcare need in Nigeria is massive.
Yeah. It's not a zero-sum game. There's still enough.
Yeah, there's a lot
of potential. Yeah.
So, and the more we do that, so it's like another 10 at the end of these 10 years, we're starting another journey of disruption. We want to grow the industry. We want to strengthen the industry of the delivery side. So everybody will be growing in that way until the entire population in Nigeria is much, much better.
Much, much
and
better.
all players will be better. Every player that is doing the right thing, every player that is thinking right will be much better as we continue in this journey of providing better service, using technology to disrupt, using good service and customer service, new product that can benefit people, always thinking of what is the need for the customer.
Yeah. So again, we've kind of like talked about, we brought about who the stakeholders. So obviously, one big stakeholder is the regulator, right?
Yes.
So I wonder what being the biggest insurer in Nigeria, like, it means you've been able to engage them, work with them, they're happy with you or whatever. I hope at least they're not stopping your business from, because in Nigeria there's always people fear government, or say just stay away from my business, right? So what's your perception of the regulator? What do you think their role is? How's it been so far with them? And then maybe we can get into the new regulator. You talked about it earlier that now health insurance is mandatory. What's the enforcement and all that?
So for us in AXA, first and foremost, compliance is very important to us. As we serve the customers, we are very, very careful to ensure we are compliant with all local regulations, be it Data Protection Act, be it NDPR, all the regulatory framework. We're very compliant. AXA is always very compliant. And so to regulator, remittance for premiums on time, data collection on time, structure, governance, everything. So what gives us protection is compliance.
Compliance.
We're very compliant. We do not violate any government rule. We do not cut corners. We do not assume nothing will happen. We do not. We do not need to wait to be asked. We do not get prompted to file our return.
So what are your final thoughts? Are you excited about the next 10 years? What do you see the future of insurance looking at, like, in the country and beyond?
Really, I'm excited that the next 10 years will be far much more greater, better, and more useful than the past 10 years. We have put the past 10 years behind us with all its goodness and all its woes. And the next 10 years is going to be very much important to us because now we can leverage more on the power of technology. Now we can leverage more on the fact that health insurance has been made mandatory. And we can now, take all of the learnings of the past to be able to improve customer experience in the future. In the next 10 years, I see that if we have moved to 10 million over a 20-year period, we're going to have 50 million in the next less than 10 years time.
Wow.
Because we now have the experience, the capacity, the technology, the framework, the regulatory environment. And of course, as long as the industry remains very positive, very driven, you will see that people will begin to flock into the health insurance space. So I see more adoption of health insurance as well as good health care in the next 10 years.